Because I think that's what I learned from the feminine, from the sacred feminine, is not to follow the mind um, or ambition, but to follow the water, follow the flow, follow the heart. I've been trying to do that in all of my life, and it brought me to many strange places. And the first thing was that I stopped my study business administration and went to the United States. And there I came in connection with Robert Bly. And Robert Bly is the founder of the men's work. And for me, that was very impressive because I realized I missed a father. I didn't have a father, a father that was present. He was there, but there was no communication and almost nothing. So I realized for myself this was incredibly important, and I started giving men's groups. I became the pioneer of men's work in the Netherlands and Belgium. First, it was a disaster because nobody understood what it was all about. This was the beginning of the 90s. And people thought, why would you get together as men? How boring, or how strange, or how laughable. The media laughed about it. So it was hard work in the first 10 years. And then slowly it started to develop. I wrote a book about it, The Return of the King, and that suddenly became a bestseller. And it's selling up till today. Became like the handbook for men's work in Europe. But all in all, what I felt when I was teaching men was always the goddess behind it. I always felt this power of this divine feminine that was leading my work. And I think it's really crucial, and I can tell you that because you will understand that you can also have a sort of regressive men's work, where men need to be more strong and become more proud of themselves, and it's what lots of young men follow these days. That they go back to the machismo way. And what I try to do in the men's groups is really to bring men to their heart. So that's the return of the king. Return of the king is to return to your heart and to balance, as you said it so well, Aisha, the masculine and feminine. Because I think we need to have both, not one above the other or the other way around. It needs to be like a marriage between the masculine and feminine. So that's what I've been doing for the last 35 years. I just come from a men's group with 30 men in the Ardennes. It was very intense and very beautiful. Um, and it's really like a second birth. Like the first birth is you come on earth out of the mother. And the second birth is like an initiation for men. They have to die to their old identity and to the old concepts, and they have to be reborn into another world. And for that, it's always very handy to have a circle of men, because the circle of men is like a womb. There's a lot of support, a lot of love, a lot of laughter also. Uh, and from that, you can see men are blossoming again. They come out of their mind, out of their problems, and they suddenly feel, this is me. I can relax. I can be myself. I don't need to be on top of everything all the time. So that's the work I've been doing. And what I mean by energy work is if you come to a sacred place, you feel already there's energy around that place. There's stories, mythological stories. Um, there's another sense of awareness. And I see energy work as a kind of acupuncture for the earth. So you put the needle in the right place and you feel, this is where we need to kind of put it in. And when you do it right, you feel that the whole collective field is shifting, is changing. Okay, so I'll come to Egypt because that's where I ended up I think in 2000. My family took me to a trip on the Nile, and it opened me up to the land of Egypt. And I had a very strong reaction to it because I felt at home. Um, we made a journey to all the temples. And what I felt was that all these temples were like the chakras of the body. Yeah. So it's like for me, Alexandria was the crown chakra. The the pyramids were the third eye. And then you go down and you follow all the temples. For me, Luxor is the heart. And then you go down towards Aswan. It's like the root chakra. It's going down into Africa. And each temple for me was like an initiation place, is where you are initiated into a new level of who you are. Yeah. And I think the old energy of the temples is still there. When you do a meditation, which is now a little bit more difficult the last few years, but in the beginning you could just go and do meditation. Um, and then somehow the stone still contained the energy or the energy of initiation. So you could really open up and get all the wisdom from the temples. So I've been going back to Egypt many times, taking groups with me, traveling over the Nile. And we also did two times, we looked for the source of the Nile. So the Nile is coming from two places. The blue Nile is from Ethiopia, and the white Nile is coming from Rwanda. So what we did is we traveled all the way down, following the water towards the source. And then you feel the enormous power of this river. It's like it has its own soul, its own identity. And I think that's also something that I relate to, that water is the feminine element, but and it doesn't only give life, it gives inspiration, it gives wisdom. Um, yeah. One of the things that really intrigued me was the 18th dynasty of the pharaohs, starting with Queen Hatshepsut, pharaoh, um, and all the other her sons, and especially Echnaton. Echnaton was a pharaoh. I don't know if you heard about him. He had a very strange, how do you say, face and body. Um, and what I normally would do visiting sacred places, I would open up, we would go into meditation, and I would get information, literally text. And I remember when I heard the voice of Echnaton, for the first time, I didn't have to close my eyes. I was sitting with my open eyes in Amarna, which is the summer palace of Akhenaton and Nefertiti, and I could just hear his voice like I hear my voice now. Like was it was just incredibly clear. Um, and I thought, wow, that's really strange that this man, this pharaoh, is so close to me. And then something really weird happened. Afterwards, the group went to have lunch, and I was walking a little bit into the desert, and there was an Egyptian man coming to me. And he was very excited. And he said, I'm so happy you came back with your family. I pray to Aton, the sun god, every night. And I'm so glad you are here back with your. And I thought, well, wait a minute. This goes way too far. So he saw me as an incarnation of Echnaton. And I thought, this is really weird how this is happening. So you become an instrument for the voice, but somehow you start to become the person. Um, I don't know yet how this all works, but I feel like that's how we start to learn. We can tap into the energy of history or of sacred places, and then we get all the information that is stored there, and we really become like a vessel. So I thought, oh yeah, this is how it works. You have to go search deeper, peel off the layers, and go deeper into the earth. Also, that's I think a very feminine principle is you don't go up, you go down.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
have to descend into the underworld, and in the underworld there are the traces or the the roots. I
Mhm.
think that's so beautiful how how you made the title for this festival. You have to go down to the roots, and then you can find the next step for the future. So I think this work, energetic work for the earth, and also about the feminine is very much about root work. You go back to the ancestors, to the older stories, and then you can see what has been brought on top of it, but also the distortions. So it's like you weave a pattern, but when there's a mistake in the weaving, you have to go back to the beginning, take all the threads out, and then you need to weave again. So basically, energetic work is also uh, to take out the distortions which sometimes happen in history. So that's one distortion. Like we have as humankind, like we think we can do it better. So we invent AI and computers and digital screens, which is very handy, by the way. But it also contains the problem for our society that uh, we substitute the original for something fake. So like now we're substituting nature for a sort of civilized world, so-called, but a world that we cannot live in anymore at some point because we are nature. So we need natural resources. So that's a major distortion, I think, in human thinking, that we are more advanced or superior. I think also that's where we are at the moment in history, that we're looking a bit at the end of the line. And I'm not trying to sound pessimistic, but we're facing so many crises that we really have to rethink our role on Earth. We have to rethink that we are part of this creation and not the rulers. Because if we keep doing that, we will destroy. So, and in that way, we're also advanced because we can use creativity, we can use self-reflection, we can use compassion, which are amazing achievements. But at the same time, we need to be very critical and self-reflective and say, where did we go wrong? Where did we miss the point? Which is a painful process, which is a painful process when it's individual, when you had a crisis or when your marriage breaks up. You have to look into the mirror and say, where did I do the wrong thing? But I think that collectively is the same. We need to look at what are we creating, and is this what we want?